Welcome back to the last video in this part modelling series. In this video, we're going to complete the steering knuckle by adding some holes, fillets and chamfers, and we'll also take a look at how material can be applied in order to calculate the part's weight. Let's start by adding the holes. On these cylindrical bosses at the top of the part, I would like a hole to pass through, so I'll start a sketch on the flat face of the cylinder. As a reminder, to look square onto a surface or plane, this is referred to as normal to, and it can be prompted by tapping the spacebar and choosing this icon. I would like to centre a circle on the existing cylindrical boss, and a quick way to achieve this is to hover over the existing circular edge. This displays the centre of the circle and allows you to snap to it. With the circle added, it just needs a dimension to control the size. I'll next add in a cut extrude feature. The cut needs to pass all the way through the part, adding a hole to both bosses. Through all would work here, and we discussed this in the last video, but to introduce you to another method, in this example I'll use up to surface as the end condition. Up to surface allows you to specify the exact stopping position for a feature's depth without having to set a dimension. This can be useful in situations where through all isn't suitable, such as when other geometry which you don't want to cut is in line of the cut direction. In this example we want to cut through everything, so we don't actually require up to surface, and through all would achieve what we need. But it's useful to understand the various options, as at some point they may come in useful. Most of the edges on this part are currently perfectly square, but I'd like to add some fillets to round certain areas off and some chamfers to remove some of the sharp edges. The fillet tool can be selected from the features menu here, but like many of the features in SolidWorks, pre-selection is often the quickest way to work. So rather than selecting the fillet tool first, I'm instead going to choose the edge I would like the fillet to be applied to and set the value to 5mm. The fillets created in that example were quite simple, and they were applied to a straight edge. But the fillet tool can add multiple fillets to different types of edge, and it even blends them where they meet. Using pre-selection again, I'll choose another edge and pick fillet from the context menu. I'll set the size to 1.5mm and then pick all of the edges required. Notice that as I add the selections, a preview is shown on the model of where the fillets are going to be applied. If when you are adding fillets there is no preview, this could be for one of two reasons. Firstly, you should check what preview settings you have set in the properties on the left hand side. No preview, partial preview or full preview. I like to have it set to full preview, so I can see exactly what I've selected and how the fillets will be applied. If you already have this set to full preview but aren't seeing a preview, that suggests that the fillet cannot be created. This could be because the geometry is too complex or the size of the fillet is too large. If this situation arises, one solution can be to try and apply the fillets across more features, rather than trying to do it all in one. There obviously may be situations too where you are asking the software to do something which can't physically exist. Similar to the fillets tool, chamfers can also be added to model edges, and here I'll do this using pre-selection and the pop-up context menu. I'll drop the size value down to 0.5mm and select the outer edges of the cylindrical boss, along with the edge of the holes, and then click the green tick. And that is now the modelling of our part file complete. But just before we wrap up, let's look at how to apply material to the part so that we can interrogate how much it weighs. To apply material, right-click on the material option in the properties on the left-hand side and choose Edit Material. This opens a dialog where a variety of materials can be picked from. I'm going to select the stainless steel and hit Apply. If I now want to see how much this part would weigh when made from stainless steel, I can go onto the Evaluate tab here on the Command Manager and choose Mass Properties, and we can see that the part weighs 279 grams. Finally, let's manipulate the model and check what we have built responds in the way intended when a change is made. Double-clicking on a face in the model will bring up the dimensions associated with the feature used to create that face. So if I click on the hole, I'm able to modify its size. Notice that although the dimension has changed, nothing has changed on the screen. And this is because the model requires a rebuild, which is this traffic light icon here. Rebuild updates the model by re-evaluating and regenerating all features to reflect any changes, and it ensures design modifications are properly applied. The shortcut for rebuild is Ctrl-B. For the eagle-eyed, you may have spotted that the rebuild icon does also appear within the modified dimension box too. So when changing a dimension, such as this diameter on the main boss, once the value has been entered, it can be applied and the rebuild prompted by using this icon. Great, so that brings us to the end of this video, and the end of this series. I hope you found it useful. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please make sure to let us know. And if you need to create marketing material and assembly instructions, why not try Cadacio? Turn your SolidWorks files into interactive 3D presentations that you can share online. Sign up today and try for free at kadacio.com.